had so much fun doing that intro. And baby, this wig is cute because you know in my mind I live in the 1960s. So I'm gonna actually keep this wig on. So hey girl. You guys already know who this is about. This is about Miss Aretha Franklin. And let me put this at the beginning of the video. Once again, the old Hollywood scandals that I do are old celebrity tea, scandals and gossip, things like that. Please do not come looking for pure facts that you can put on your college essay or something like that for music. Like, please don't do that, because you're going to turn that paper in and your professor going to be like, F, because I don't remember any of this happening. Because I don't know if any of this stuff happened. I don't know if it's all fact, okay? All I know is I read, I research, and whatever I see, I put it in the video. I just had to make that clear, especially on this video, because baby, this is Aretha Franklin. This is the queen, and I know y'all gonna get at me if I say anything that y'all don't like or that y'all know is not true about the queen. Okay? So go ahead and click like and subscribe to this video because I know you're gonna enjoy it. This video, I'm sure, is gonna be a little longer than the other ones because Aretha Franklin has so many scandals and skeletons. Baby, it's a lot, child. Woo! Aretha Franklin was born March 25th, 1942 in Memphis, Tennessee. Her father was the Reverend Clarence LaVon Franklin, and her mother was Barbara Siggers Franklin. Between her mom and dad, she had 3 siblings. The first one was Irma, the second Carolyn, and the third Cecil. But her parents also had children from previous relationships they had been in. As a matter of fact, her dad was a major playboy. I mean, he changed up his women like he changed up his underwear. And that played a major part in the breakup of his marriage and his family. All right, honey, it's time to get into some tea already. Already. That's how much tea gonna be in this video. You see, Reverend Clarence LaVon, well, everybody called him Reverend CL, so that's what we'll call him. Reverend CL and Barbara got married back in 1936. And by the time 1940 rolled around, it was already some mess, honey. He was a pastor of a small church in Memphis, and around this time, he was about 25 years old. And from what they said, he was doing some counseling sessions for the youth of the church. Well, honey, I guess something happened when the youth was female, because one of those girls by the name of Mildred Jennings, 12 years old, came out of a counseling session, and it was later found that she was pregnant with the Reverend's baby. Yes, you heard me right. Mildred Jennings, 12 years old, bore Reverend C.L. Franklin a daughter by the name of Carol Ellen Jennings, as seen here in this photo. Now, clearly to us in this day and age, that is known as rape. But back then, things were different. However, they weren't so different that when her parents and everybody else found out she was pregnant, things didn't hit the fan. First of all, Mildred's parents blamed her for the pregnancy and sent her off as punishment for being too fast. Second of all, Miss Barbara, the Reverend's wife, sank into a horrific depression. And it was because of the deceit and the embarrassment that he put her through with that. But CL, on the other hand, kept right on preaching. Like ain't nothing happened. Like it's cool, you know. And this was fine for a while. Then word started getting around town. Like, wait a minute, you got a 12-year-old girl pregnant, and you think you're going to still be preaching? So his congregation probably didn't do anything, but people around the town started to talk. And eventually, he and the rest of the Franklins, his children, his wife, everybody else, were ran out of town. They didn't want anything else to do with them. So he took his wife and children, and he fled to Buffalo. I know, right? Her father was clearly a handful, but let's get back to the lady of the hour. By the time they moved to Buffalo, Aretha was 2 years old. And by the time she turned 5, CL had relocated his family to Detroit permanently. Around this time, though, Barbara Siggers Franklin had had enough. She was depressed, gloomy, and self-destructive, and she knew she had to get away. As you should, girl. As you should. The poor woman had never got over the heartbreak that she faced from her husband's infidelity with the women, but also the deep heartbreak that she faced when he impregnated a 12-year-old child. And to make it worse, the arrogant, very arrogant, CL barely apologized. So yeah, in 1948, she packed up her things and she left her family and she moved back to Buffalo. The only child that she took was the child that she came into the marriage with. And that was Aretha's older half brother, Vaughn. And even though she visited her other children and she let them come up to Buffalo to visit her, Aretha never fully got over what she felt like was abandonment from her mother. And it didn't help matters at all when Barbara ended up dying of a heart attack on March 7th, 1952. She was still so young, only 34 years old, and Aretha, the poor dear, was only 9. I, as well as many of the rumors that swirled around at that time, believed that Miss Barbara Siggers Franklin died from a broken heart. And I don't think I would be too far off. I mean, the things that woman suffered through would be damage to anybody. It'd be hard for any woman to get over it. Now, after her mother's death, several women along the gospel circuit, including Mahalia Jackson, took turns raising Aretha. And her father, with his emotionally charged sermons and his made-for-gospel singing voice, became a preaching sensation and was one of the first traveling celebrity ministers. Like her mother, Aretha was learning to play piano by ear, and like her father, she also began to sing. It was noticed right away that she had no ordinary voice, and her father recognized that with her talent, she could accomplish success easily. So she, out of all of his children, became his favorite. I mean, he lifted her up on a pedestal up to here. Aretha's voice developed and grew more and more, and she started to travel with her father and started to sing on the same programs that he sang on. The problem is that was not the only thing that grew. You see, back in that time, Black church, especially Black gospel music, went hand in hand with partying, drinking, and just sinful living, honestly. Why do you think a lot of the old Black blues songs and gospel songs sound alike? Hand in hand, baby. Since this was the case, a lot of those singing groups, female trios, male quartets, were young and beautiful. And so after singing their praises to the Lord, they would usually meet up at some local parishioner's house to dance, party, and drink whiskey. And before you knew it, everybody would be drunk. And the atmosphere would become very, very sexually charged. Ray Charles even said that his time around Aretha, as well as other gospel music artists at the time, he said, quote, "The gospel people were wilder than me, and they loved orgies." He said the cats liked it with the cats, and the chicks liked it with the chicks, and nobody minded switching it up and mixing it up whichever way it went. Child, there was a bunch of wild stuff going on. Just a bunch of wild stuff going on. Just orgies and sex everywhere and naked bodies and whoo. Young Aretha grew up around all this. This is what she knew. And before long, it became a part of her life. And she became involved in some unsavory activities, such as smoking marijuana, drinking liquor, and having sexual relations. Her father, too busy doing his own dirt with gospel singer Clara Ward, entrusted other people to care for Aretha. And I guess they couldn't really keep an eye on her because they were all doing the same thing. And so before long, you know what happened? The girl was pregnant at 12 years old. The baby was a boy, born on January the 28th, 1955, and Aretha named him Clarence after her father. She probably wouldn't have done this if she knew the things that were being said. I mean, he had already impregnated another 12-year-old, so it was not hard for people to start to whisper that Aretha's own father was the father of her child. And Aretha never really told anybody who that child's father was, so I'm not gonna lie. I kind of feel like it's some truth to it. I'm not gonna lie, but that is my opinion. I just feel like maybe there's some truth to that. Maybe he could be that child's father, or maybe he did molest Aretha as well as her sisters. I do feel like there's some truth to that. Anyway, the official rumor of the time is that Reverend C.L. had admired and loved his daughter so much, and she grew up to sing well, and she acted just like him, that he became infatuated with her, and that he did molest her, and that he impregnated her with her first baby boy, whose name was Clarence. Now, there were some other people who believed that a boy that she went to school with, named Donald Burke, fathered that child. This was never confirmed. Now, from here, we can start getting into more of Aretha's musical accomplishments, or we can start getting more into some more scandalous tea. Which one y'all choosing? Accomplishments, music, singing, or T? Y'all choosing T because I'm choosing T. Now, it was and has been said, and I am saying as well, that Aretha did not learn anything from getting pregnant with her first son at such an early age. As a matter of fact, she used to drop that son off with the same people that her dad used to leave her with so she can go and sleep around with more men. I'm saying that she didn't learn anything because the girl ended up pregnant again 2 years later at the age of 14. Her second son was by this man, Mr. Edward Jordan. And she named this son Edward Jerome Franklin. And I know y'all out there saying, well, Ashley, if he was the father of the second born son, he most likely was the father of the firstborn son. She never came out and said that that was her first child's father. So y'all, I'm just not buying that. So now, here we go. Aretha has 2 children on her hip. And she still ain't learned not one thing, honey, because her sister said that she would drop both of her sons off to them. She would drop them off to Irma and her grandmother, Miss Rachel. And Irma said that Aretha said that she didn't want to be and couldn't be a full-time parent at this time because she was too young, she wanted to hang out with her friends, and she also wanted to further her career, and she couldn't do that, caring for her sons as a full-time mother. She did say, however, that whenever Aretha got the chance, she would come visit her babies. So that's a good thing, I guess. This was in Detroit in the late 50s and 60s. And of course, the whole music scene back then meshed together. So Aretha, of course, was hanging out with soon-to-be celebrities of Motown and soon-to-be Atlantic stars. Of course, everybody kind of knew each other. And in 1961, she was reintroduced to a man that she had met earlier at one of her house parties. And this man was Mr. Ted White. And the reason this is so significant is because Aretha in 1954, when she first saw him, she was telling everybody that was the finest man that she had ever seen. He blew her mind, baby, and she wanted a piece of that, and she missed the chance. So like I said, 1961, here he is, they're reintroduced, and later on that year, they were married. Now, let's get this in the clear right now. Aretha loved her men to be bad boys. They had to have some swag. They had to be able to know how to handle themselves. You get what I'm saying? So when she found out her handsome, suave, debonair Ted White was a pimp, she didn't even bat an eye. And when he started to beat on her, the same way he beat on his horse, she also took that in stride. Now, you can be a bad boy all you want to, but you beat on me, I'm going to bust you upside your head. Now, this is doggone Ashley Says So saying that. Ted. So it was clear to everybody around her that Aretha would pretty much put up with anything to keep a man. And it became even more evident when friends learned that Ted had started Aretha to go to swingers parties. I don't know if she performed or not, but doggone it, she was at the doggone party. And he also started having her snort lines of coke. Now on this one, for all y'all folks talking about where you get your info from, I actually remember exactly where I got this from. It was from a singer named Betty LaVette. Matter of fact, this Betty LaVette, she was even sleeping with Ted White. She was sleeping with Aretha's husband and hanging out with him and Aretha, all in Aretha's face. The scandal, honey. But anyways, she said she had recorded a song. Aretha and Ted were there. They were all in the hotel room, sitting at the table, snorting cocaine. So Betty LaVette apparently was there and then told Aretha's business. Okay, there was also mention of how Aretha knew she was her father's favorite. And she flaunted this in front of her brothers and her other sisters. And around this time, Aretha was on top. Like, she had made her first songs, like Do Right Woman, all this kind of stuff. So she was on top. So she also was flaunting her wealth as well. And then, like, she would throw tantrums and pretty much let them know that they were beneath her. And they said that not only did she do her family like this, she also treated her boyfriends like they were beneath her. She thought everybody was beneath her. But I mean, I can kind of believe this because Aretha was kind of still acting like that when she got older. Y'all know that she was acting like she was the queen of everything, baby. Ooh, y'all, I forgot to mention a rumor earlier. Let me jump back to it. So apparently Aretha loved Sam Cooke. Thought he was the most handsome man on the face of the earth. He could sing. When Sam was 23, he was at a hotel in Atlanta, and a 12-year-old Aretha got invited back to the room after a show and spent the night. That's what the rumor says, but I don't think that's the only time they messed around. They had messed around more than that one time because as she had got older, probably around 18, 19, somewhere around there, she messed around with him again. As a matter of fact, Sam Cooke was quoted as saying he enjoyed more than Aretha's divine voice that night she joined him in an Atlanta motel room. Baby, I guess he enjoyed the mouth. I guess he enjoyed the... Said that Sam Cooke's song, You Send Me, was written about Aretha after that night. What kind of magic she got? If you got men writing songs about you and it's just one night, good. It was also said that he may have been the father to the second son, Edward. But I don't know if I believe that. All right, now to get back to Ted and back to the 1960s. Aretha and Ted had one son, and that's Ted White Jr., but he's actually known professionally as Teddy Richards. He would sometimes play backup guitar for his mother. And around 1969, Aretha and Ted's marriage grew sour. She got tired of the beating and she left him. Hold on. And I'm not trying to be messy. I promise you I ain't. Because look, nobody should put their hands on anybody else. I don't care what the situation is. But I do have to say this. I do wonder if some of the beatings that Aretha got in 1969 was due to the fact that as soon as 1970 got here, she had a baby in April by another man, which was her road manager. And his name was Ken Cunningham. That is the father of her fourth and final child and last son, Cacao Cunningham. Come on now, you just got divorced in 1969. In April 1970, you're popping out a child. You know, either she was already messing with Ken Cunningham, or either Aretha moved on very, very fast. Aretha and Ken Cunningham dated for a little while. I don't know any info really about their relationship, so I'm not really going to go into detail about that. I do know, though, that while she was with him and after she was with him, Aretha was messing around with Dennis Edwards from The Temptations. She was inviting him over for a slice of her pie. And she ain't even got no pie. That's patty pie. What are you doing, Aretha, trying to serve somebody pie? Anyway, Dennis Edwards was said to have pleased her so much, Cloud Nine, that Aretha asked for his hand in marriage, buying him new outfits, new suits, paying his bills. Get next to you, was really trying to get next to you to stay with her. She fell in love with him. It's about to get real hot in here because it's about to get scandalous, honey. Glenn Turman was at a concert when a little boy came up to him and said, "Oh, wow, Glenn Turman, my mother loves you." So Glenn was like, "Oh, yeah? Okay, well then show me your mother." So when he got to the dressing room, the door opened, and that's when he saw that the mother was Aretha Franklin. And she's in a white flowing dress with pearl details. You know, they're looking at each other, but they're doing it by looking through the mirror. They stayed together all night, they chatted, and then during that conversation, Aretha told him that she wanted to take acting classes. And what do you know? At the time, Glenn Turman gave acting classes, so he invited her to come to his class. He said that the Queen of Soul showed up to the acting class in a fur coat, honey, and not too long after that, they were married. You know what time it is. Time for that drama. Said that marriage was full of all kind of hell, baby. Said soon Glenn started seeing that Aretha was a diva. He didn't like that. You know, he didn't like a woman that was all arrogant and full of herself. And so he started calling her fat, you know, telling her she needed to lose weight. And if she didn't lose weight, he was going to divorce her. Like, just really, really mean stuff. That is not the biggest scoop of tea in their marriage. Let me put another disclaimer because this one is kind of messy and dramatic. I don't know if this is true. Supposedly, Aretha walked in on Glenn Turman in the bed, raping her second son, Edward. Oh, I don't believe that. I'm not going to lie. I don't believe that. She never called the police. She never pressed charges. She just divorced him. I just don't think that that's all she would have done if she actually saw that. Now, after all this, Aretha had enough drama and scandal to last her a lifetime. She was in her 40s. You know, she was aging. She was overweight. People around her started dying. Let me back up a bit and let you guys know that in 1979, Aretha's father, C.L. Franklin, was shot twice at point-blank range, while Aretha was actually performing at the Aladdin Hotel in Las Vegas. The report said that this was just a robbery, like people just came in off the street. The rumor said that her father, Reverend C.L., had long become involved with drug dealers, just really bad characters from Miami. Either got shot because he owed somebody some money or something like that, or they owed him something and they didn't want to pay him, so they shot him instead. Aretha rushed home to be with her father. He actually spent 6 months in the hospital, and then after that, they let him come home. They just gave him 24-hour care around the clock. In 1982, Aretha moved back to Detroit permanently to care for her sick father. And he lasted 2 more years before dying in a nursing home in 1984. In 1988, Aretha's sister Carolyn died of breast cancer at the age of 43. And on December 26, 1989, her brother Cecil, whom had been her manager this entire time, died of lung cancer. Irma also died in 2002, and she died from throat cancer. And then tragedy struck again. Aretha's older half-brother, Vaughn, he died at the end of 2002. So it was kind of like her tragedies clumped together, almost, you know? Now, since we're on the subject of her siblings, I'd like to report that her older half-sister that was had by 12-year-old Mildred Jennings, she and Aretha had actually formed a relationship over the years, and she was actually in attendance at Aretha's funeral. But sadly, Carol herself died in 2019. Supposedly, Aretha had a host of medical problems herself. It was actually reported that in 2011, she had pancreatic cancer, but she said this wasn't true. So we don't know if that was true or not. I do know that she went in to have some tumor or lump or something removed, and that was successful. And it was reported in 2012 that Aretha was set to marry her longtime boyfriend, Willie Wilkerson. They had actually been engaged 2 times, and this time they were supposed to marry. But by the end of the year, Aretha had called it off and broke the relationship apart permanently. Now, we are actually coming to the close of this video. I know you guys are like, woo, thank God, it's been a long time. But baby, let me tell you this. You know when the tea is too hot, it takes a long time to drink. Let me go ahead and throw in another couple of funny things about Aretha, though. Now, Aretha is said to have competition with any female singer, whether they are older or younger than her. One time she got upset with Beyonce because Beyonce made the mistake of calling Tina Turner the queen on live TV. Tina Turner? That's what Aretha was doing, honey, because she was mad about it. She said that Beyonce should have knew better. She know that Aretha is the only queen around here. And she got upset with Patti LaBelle when Patti LaBelle became big because Patti had the nerve to be able to sing real good and hit all the high notes. No ma'am, only the queen is able to do that. So Patti, pipe down. Now this one I don't really believe because I read it in like a forum where people post comments or whatever, and it was just somebody had posted a comment and they said this, but I'm going to tell y'all because it's kind of funny. But supposedly Aretha did not have a problem with Dionne Warwick or Sissy Houston because she said they couldn't sing. She said they couldn't sing well enough, so she didn't have a problem with them, and she was cool with them. They did say that she ended up having a problem with Whitney later on in life because Whitney could sing. But they said Aretha knew her boundaries because Whitney actually could sing. So she did not want to really compete against Whitney in case Whitney won. And of course, Whitney had the support of the people. She, in turn, became Auntie Ree to Whitney Houston. That's just from somebody's comment. I don't know if it's true, but it was pretty funny. So why y'all didn't tell me my wig was sliding back like that? I'm doing this whole video thinking I'm looking good, talking about I'm a 60s singer, and my wig is back here. And y'all sat up there and let me do that? Oh, y'all so trifling. Anyway, go ahead and click like and subscribe. I hope you love this video. I hope you learned some scandalous tea on Miss Aretha Franklin. And I hope you guys come back for more.
When my soul was in the lost and found, you came along to claim me.